I decided to join politics in Gibraltar because I felt I could bring something new to the electorate and to politics locally. I wanted to understand the people in our society and what their genuine needs were. I felt there was a large degree of disenfranchisement in Gibraltar between the electorate and the political class. We now believe, as we did, that it is time for genuine change in Gibraltar. People are tired of the tribal two-party system largely controlled by lawyers and law firms. Gibraltar is desperately looking for representatives who understand their people and wanting to genuinely understand and trust their politicians and elected representatives. We truly believe that democracy does not begin and end at the polling stations on election day, but that a vibrant democracy needs an equally vibrant civil society, grassroots movement, activism, and engagement and public participation. Over the last year, we have provided this civil platform of participation to hundreds of people in Gibraltar. We have brought issues to the forefront that no one would dare to talk about, such as those of women's reproductive rights, the environmental dangers in our surroundings, and confronting the government's lack of transparency, from the £300 million loan that we are in the dark about to the dubious practices within the Calpe House charity. We believe that we have been successful in our mission to bring politics back to our people. We believe that we have thrived in exciting our citizens with the reality that they too can be in the decision-making processes that shape our society. As a Member of Parliament, we put forward grassroots proposals and initiatives on matters of public interest to Parliament, generating both social and parliamentary debate. We did this via a motion following the environmental debate that we held, and also the gender issues debate taught us a lot about where we are at in relation to the rest of the Western world and what needs doing in order to bring us up to date in line with modern democracies on the gender equality front. The primary aim of Together Gibraltar has been and continues to be to listen, learn, and represent. And I am proud that we have done that and recruited a group of leaders who have found their civil and political home with us. I promised on the day I launched the movement that if we were ever to transition into a political party, it would be decided democratically by our membership. So we had a vote on whether it wanted the Together Gibraltar movement to transition into a party, and our membership voted overwhelmingly to move into a party structure. As we are a truly democratic grouping, we could now put forward our values and ideologies forward as a program for government. The need for transition was clearly manifested, and here we are today with a group of genuine and serious individuals who want to serve our community into the future. Our core values stem from the movement we created a year ago, and they are participation and democracy. Our history as a civil society movement will continue to define our party going forward. We will encourage grassroots participation and continue developing close ties with the community. But we want you, the public, to help us shape our policy and continue to improve Gibraltar's future. And we will be, over the next few months especially, but of course into the future, providing you with ample opportunities to talk and communicate with us, because we believe democracy is more than placing a vote every 4 years. We want members to vote on the party's important decisions, and once in government, we will create mechanisms and channels of communication to facilitate a closer social dialogue. Pragmatism. Gibraltar requires politicians that are constructive, open-minded, and pragmatic, that listen to the people they represent and aspire to solve their problems instead of creating new ones. We cannot allow division to continue to hinder the proper functioning of this community. There are urgent reforms which are not being executed due to partisan agendas. Issues of state that should be tackled from a unified cross-party front. We will try to build consensus with all political forces to tackle these issues. Inclusivity and progressivism. The Together Gibraltar Party aspires to better represent the diversity of our community through inclusion and outreach. Together, we can build an inclusive democracy that represents we, the people, not just the wealthy special interests, in which people of all walks of life, professional backgrounds, gender, race, class, sexual orientation, etc., can be inspired to run for office and provide their insights and talents. Our party is against socio-cultural intolerance, free from racial, cultural, gender-based or class-based prejudice and bias. We will continue to fight for equality like we have as a civic platform, standing firm against views from a bygone era that have been holding members of our community back. Together Gibraltar will finally provide a truly progressive political option that will enfranchise our youth and show that Gibraltar's civil rights are on an upward curve. Transparency and accountability. Corruption and transparency cannot be an issue of faith. We cannot expect politicians to break away from long-standing corrupt practices on goodwill alone, from within a political ecosystem that is a corrupting force. We will strive for legislation that guarantees the fairness and transparency of our political system so that we no longer have to rely on promises and good faith. The creation of this party does not mean an end to grassroots participation and people power. We still want your energy, your ideas, and your support. In fact, we need it now more than ever. Without you, without the participation and support of all those who agree in this style of politics, there can be no meaningful change. Together Gibraltar is still your home, but we now aspire to make it a home for all those who believe in a better Gibraltar. Our agenda comprises of three main pillars: transparency and accountability, civil rights, and the environment. We believe each of these pillars is a crucial cornerstone for the policies we want to develop looking into the future, and we want you to be a part of it. We will form policies from the front and not from the back. We shall be proactive and not reactive. We will not, as other parties do, wait to see how the tide is turning to tell you our vision and policies. We shall set it according to our values and our principles. That's leadership, and that is what you, the community, deserve. In the same vein, we shall make it a priority to uncover opaque practices and bring out matters that you deserve to know about, like where exactly our money is being spent, as well as adopt serious policies and pathways to reduce the debt at a time when we need to be as debt-free as possible. We will strive to make spending more efficient so that we have more to spend on our youth, our vulnerable, and our elderly, who need it the most. Gibraltar is ready for change. The old system does not fit our modern society. People no longer simply want to be consumers, but active participants. We are this platform, a platform which has in its executive body a bunch of conviction-driven, credible, and experienced individuals in their fields with various skill sets in many areas who will be instrumental in policy making and forging good relationships with our citizens. We are the credible alternative, and I take this opportunity to thank this executive for their faith in the project and in me as its leader. I invite all Gibraltarians to join our party and me. It is time for a new voice in Gibraltar. Brave leadership that will take us to the next stage in our democracy based on transparency and public participation. It is time to truly challenge the status quo. Together Gibraltar is that new voice, and it starts here today. So please join us and let's do this together. Thank you. If I may now pass the floor to our chair, Neil Samtani.
Thank you, Marlene. So just over a year ago, the Together Gibraltar movement was launched to lobby for equality, openness, transparency, and granting the people a voice. We did so firm in our conviction to be inclusive and to ensure that we put principles before politics. Today, we see ourselves move on to the next step of this journey. It is time to upgrade our democracy. As party chair, I want to outline briefly our party charter and those values that bind us. You will notice that the party branding has changed from that of the movement. Given the continuity of our values and ethos, the colors remain consistent with that of the movement. The logo symbolizes our people, which are the driving force behind our project. At the same time, it also symbolizes leaves and our connection to our environmental agenda. Our website has been relaunched, keeping the same URL, www.togethergibraltar.com. You can easily register there for membership, which is anonymous. You can also subscribe to receive party updates. Members will be able to contribute and vote to shape our policies. Every executive with us here today, without exception, firmly believes that politics today needs to be conducted with honesty, integrity, and respect. As such, we will operate to a high standard of conduct at all times. You can find our code of conduct on our website, but in short, we will actively discourage discrimination of any kind against any member of the public based on race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or age. We will not tolerate harassment or bullying, and we will always prioritize public interest above personal gain, only using the power of office for the service of our constituents and our nation. We're proud to be fully GDPR compliant. We believe that your data belongs to you, and will ensure that it is not used without your explicit consent. As such, and as we conclude the Together Gibraltar movement, the movement will reach out to registered members with guidance on how to register as a member of the party on the newly relaunched Together Gibraltar website. We will be holding our first AGM on the 5th of February, where policies will be agreed following a democratic process. Our executives will continue to engage with our community and are encouraged to participate in public debate, however, always in a respectful, mindful, and dignified manner. We will use our code of conduct and the principles that Marlene had discussed earlier to best implement policies that, before anything else, will serve the people of Gibraltar. Thank you.
Craig, if you would like to say a few words on Brexit, please.
Thank you. When Marlene first asked me to say a few words on Brexit, I said, how many days do we have? Because it's not a simple topic. So I started writing a few things, and the first one was a rather long version. You'll be happy to know that I'm presenting the abridged version today, which is basically a quick summary. And the way I view Brexit, and the way as a party we view Brexit, of course we have no formal policy, but this is what our stance is at the moment, is that it's very much not in Gibraltar's interest, obviously, to go for Brexit, but we have this deal, and I think the government is right in backing the Prime Minister, and it can be turned into a positive. It's a bit like being at Aqua Park, and you're next to the top of the scariest ride in the park, and without wanting to, you've been shoved down the toboggan, and off you go. So all you can do is steady yourself down the way and brace yourself for the landing at the bottom. And then actually think of what's going to happen beyond that. And that's very much, I use that analogy as to where we stand at the moment. I think the government needs to not just protect our sovereignty, but also start looking a lot more at our economy, and let's start ring fencing what we have now, preparing for any hiccups, any possible cliff edge that we might face, whether it's in March 2019 or December 2020. And let's start protecting what we have here now. So cross-border workers, let's start looking at how that how that problem would be fixed where it's become an issue. Let's start looking further afield as well. Let's look at the UK and look at the future trade agreements. I don't think we should be looking at anything less than what we have now. In fact, we should be negotiating a far better trade agreement. Look at places like Portugal and Morocco where we could establish good trading relationships with it, and further afield. And importantly, I think the economy needs to look for something that is free from political agenda and free from cross-border issues. So in terms of what the type of business we have here, we need to look very carefully. And so we would urge as a party, the government, to work much closer than they are at the moment with industry, with business leaders, to drive this to a successful conclusion. Gibraltar is always looking positively out there, and we always find a way through. We're very resilient, and I think we just need to grasp onto that, not panic, but work really hard. Let's be realistic, let's communicate with the people, and let's work towards a successful conclusion for Gibraltar.
Thank you. Kamlesh?
Okay, Marlene's asked me to just talk a little bit about the economy and our vision for the economy. So today you'll probably go away with more questions than actual answers. So it's early days. What we have in mind is a long-term vision, something that's going to look towards the next 20 years of what Gibraltar has to offer. We're obviously a service-orientated location. We've got great opportunities, there's great potential. And I think a lot of it has actually been left to just idle. So it's time for us now. We're spending lots of time and energy. We've got a great team on board. We're excited about this project. This is going to be something very special for Gibraltar. We're putting together groups to work at different areas of the economy. I think what we want to do is make sure it's a wider economy, more inclusive. We want to get people involved from all walks of life. It's got to be much more diverse than it is today. We're going to look at employment and work, the work of the future. That's something really important. It's exciting times because the future with technology, etc., is going to become very, very challenging. But that, I think, is also something that we have to overcome. So importantly, I think that we have this vision. We're asking for people to join us. It's an exciting future that we have. And I'm really honoured and proud to be a part of this team. So look forward to being with you guys again.